It's been announced the three guys who will be attending or representing Auburn through SEC Media Days: Eugene Asante, Peyton Thorne, Keldrick Faulk.
Yeah.
So let's start with defense first, guys. Start with the defensive side first. Eugene Asante, no shocker there, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think most of us we think we would have been pretty surprised with Eugene Asante. Let's talk about him. Mike, during this offseason, you've had an opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with Eugene Asante.
I
Your
did.
thoughts about this selection in terms of representing Auburn at SEC Media Days?
He was such an obvious choice. You're a huge personality, very well spoken guy. He'll say all the right things, but he also will project the energy that you want at media days. Eugene Asante is going to go out there and he's going to get people excited about Auburn football, right? He's going to be a good reflection of your program. He's going to be a great ambassador for what you are trying to build and for why guys need to continue to come into your program. Media days is your time to shine, guys. It is your time to have a big old billboard that says Auburn football, here's where you want to play, right? And here are the guys who are in it, the guys who are playing in it. You know, Eugene Asante believes in Auburn. And you need guys at media days that believe in Auburn. He is the mayor of believing in Auburn. So, you know, we talked about a lot of things during that one-on-one season. We talked about the Cal game. We talked about the motivation they took from Jay Knott's comments. And then we talked about how disappointing last season was and how these guys feel like, hey, man, we got to get over this hump this year. So, you know, Freeze has a 3-year, 4-year plan for getting Auburn football back to where it needs to be. But the Eugene Asantes of the world, they don't have 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
They want to be in a winner now. And so you choose him because he's a guy, if you're going to get wins now, he's going to be a guy at the forefront of making sure you get wins now. He's going to anchor that defense. He's going to go out. He's going to get sacks. He's going to bring energy. And he's going to make sure that every day guys bring their best to the table. So you need that. Hugh Freeze said he felt like the best teams are player-led teams. Well, you need leaders that are players if you're going to have player-led teams, and Eugene Asante is just that. So I talked with the guys over at the Up-Tempo about culture, and we know that they put together a culture council. Guess who's on that culture council? Eugene is. So if he's going to represent you in that way, why wouldn't you take one of your culture council leaders to media days? You got to have him there. So, like, I don't know. Eugene was a great choice. Like I said, it was a no-brainer. I think leaving him would have been a massive mistake of epic proportions. Taking him is the obvious choice, and I'm glad that Freeze got this one right.
Ike, talk to me about your thoughts on Eugene Asante.
Yeah, absolute no-brainer to have Eugene Asante on this list. I would have been absolutely shocked if he wasn't one of the three.
And appalled, Ike. Shocked and appalled.
Yeah, it's just his, as Mike said, his personality alone is someone you want to be out there as a representative in front of the cameras, in front of a microphone, given that energy, and he can ball, right? Like it's not as if he can't go out there and produce on the football field. He was the leading tackler for this team last season. So he's going to go out there and he's going to represent both on and off the field. He's an excellent ambassador for Auburn. And he's an absolute delight to be around, bro. Like, he's just a genuinely nice dude. Passionate. You talk to him after games when Auburn wins and the smile is there. You talk to him after games when Auburn loses and he wears that same frustration right there on his sleeve, and you can feel it oozing through his words and his demeanor. He doesn't like to lose football games at all. And that's the kind of guy you want to represent your team, because he feels the pain of fans, right? Like, he's like, I feel like I let you guys down. You guys came out here and you cheered us on for hours and we didn't get it done. He's the guy you want to represent your team, man. Absolutely right choice. No brainer. Like, they might as well have just, like, you could just hand that to him, like, off the rip. Like, bro, as soon as they said we're taking somebody, they were like, and the other two we don't know yet, because you knew one of them was going to be
Eugene. Eugene, if you're listening to this message from me, I do not take your shirt off at media days. I know you like to get
Nah, he
crunked
gonna be
up and
suited
like,
up,
yeah,
bro.
yeah. Don't take your shirt off at media days. Just keep it on for just for that day.
I'm pretty sure they gave him the whole rundown
He
of
gets
how
on
to
the stage
represent
and he's like,
himself.
"Let's work." I can see Eugene getting too crunked up.
That would actually be hilarious,
Yeah, it
though.
would be great.
He
It
would
would be made for
definitely would
TV.
steal the show.
He would make
Oh
ESPN
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. It would be TV history.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
but
Sports Center
mhm,
ready
yeah,
right there.
but don't
So
do that. Don't do that.
yeah, but don't. Yeah,
No, he definitely strikes me as a emotional leader for the team for sure. And again, I'm excited about him, especially last year, how he became a bit of a revelation. Again, this was the Eugene Asante we was expecting when he touched down day one, when he came from UNC, right? But obviously didn't see the field. So it's great that we're seeing this particular guy shine and actually have the personality to match his intensity and play on the field. So couldn't think of a better person on the defensive side of the ball than one Eugene Asante. That's not really the surprise though, in terms of who
no,
was selected as particularly from the defensive side of the ball. Let's talk about one Keldrick Faulk. Now, this was a surprise to me, guys,
Mm.
because I think of several guys before I come to Keldrick Faulk,
Yeah,
right? You got guys like Jason Jones, Keontae Scott, and Austin Keys. Like, there's a lot of guys you could think of
yeah,
before you get to Keldrick Faulk. Also, you tend to think that this is a opportunity that you would give definitely to an upperclassman, right? This is guys in his second year. So it's a bit surprising to see Hugh Freeze go to someone who's only been on Auburn a little over a year now, to represent the university. Mike, talk to me, man. Well, how you feel about this one?
uh, I was a little surprised at that. I think this was the one that kind of came out of nowhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
But let me tell you, let me go back to what I think being selected to media days means. It means that they feel like you represent both internally and externally what they're trying to project Auburn football is. And I think this is a huge honor. I think it should signify to fans that Keldrick Faulk has taken the next step, in his maturation process as a football player, as a person, and as a leader. Look, Hugh Freeze, I reminded people, if you feel like your best teams are player-led teams, right? Like, you're going to have some guys who just naturally fall in that role, and then you have to develop some guys, and I'm actually happy to see guys developing as leaders under Hugh Freeze. That's encouraging stuff, because you need guys to step up. You need to see that guys are becoming the type of men that fans can be proud of. And I think that, again, this is complete. This is without, I know that we allude to a lot of conversations we had. I have not had any conversations about this. I'm telling you, I'm projecting this completely, but it's just my opinion that when Hugh Freeze chooses you for something like this, it means that you have stood out. It means you stayed off lists. It's infamous lists that he hates so much, and you're a guy keeping other guys off lists. That's fantastic news for fans to have a name come out of nowhere and be selected for media days. And it doesn't mean that other guys have regressed in their maturation. It just means that you have so many guys stepping up that it's a hard choice to choose only three. That's tough, especially if you got a bunch of great guys on your team. But media days is a mix of the best players and the best spokespeople.
right.
Yeah.
And so when a guy can do both, I think that should be encouraging, man. I'm really happy to hear this. And, for a guy like Keldric with talent that we anticipated would be, because last year they took Elijah McAllister, right? And we knew what Elijah was, decent player. Was he ever going to be the best defensive person? Like, no. But he was great at the other thing. And that's why you
Right.
take him. Keldric,
Right.
might prove to be a good mix of both.
Right.
So it's good to see that. I mean, listen. I mean, the defensive side of the football was the better side of the football last year. So I'm not shocked to see two guys from that side of the football chosen for media days. You got to take somebody on offense. Who did they take last year? Luke Deal and Cam Stutz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we got one defensive guy, two offensive guys last year, and they kind of flipped the script this year. But I think it's a good sign for the maturation of Keldrick Faal. So I mean, you should be encouraged by this. These aren't meaningless things, and because some people feel like we're just, oh, you guys are just talking because you got to talk about something. No, man, the selection to media days is it's more than just symbolic. It is a meaningful marker in a player's career to get selected for this.
Right.
Of all your peers in the conference, you're joining, the few, the 48 players total that get selected to go to media days from all the schools. 16 schools, 3 per school. There'll be 48 guys there. And you are one of 48. Fantastic honor. I love this for Keldric, and I think the fans should love it equally.
Ike, talk to me, man.
Mike kind of alluded to this point. This year, more than last year, you get the mix of ability on the field and good spokesperson, right? Because and this is going to sound as if I'm digging at the guys from last year, but listen, let's be clear again. Elijah McAllister wasn't going to be an all-SEC performer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
Cam Stutz people were surprised he was even going to start last year. So he wasn't going to be an all-SEC performer. Even though he played well last season, he was a big portion of why that offensive line played better this season because he improved his game. And Luke Deal, not an all-SEC performer. They had to go to, well, these are the guys that speak the best, who I think can represent us at the microphone the best. This year, you're getting an opportunity to see guys that not only will speak well, Eugene Asante, Keldrick Faulk, and we'll get to the last name here, but they're going to ball. And Keldrick Faulk is a guy who was one of the more highly touted freshmen last year. A lot of expectations. I don't know that he lived up to those expectations last year, but he's another guy who, when you see him after the Maryland game, after the bowl game, he was visibly upset at the outcome of that game. He was audibly in critique of the demeanor of players on the team he was one of those guys along with Fairweather who were like, yo, we got to fix this. We've got to fix the way that we go about business as a program here. And we need to get rid of guys who are not going to be about that culture. So this shows that I feel like from the moment he walked away from that bowl, from that Music City Bowl loss last year, he made up in his mind next year it ain't going to be like that. If nobody else is right, the D-line room is going to be right.
Yeah,
because we're gonna make sure they get right. Like, and I've talked to a couple of players. I know Jason Jones felt like that. He was like, "Yeah, nah, next year we're not playing that." Right? Austin Keys was another guy who's very much on that board. I don't think they would have taken 2 linebackers, and Eugene Asante I feel like is the better of the 2 as far as representatives. So
Sure.
That's why he would get bumped down. But Keldrick Faulk took it upon himself to step up in a leadership role, and I like the fact that he already has a good voice in that locker room as a young player.
Yeah.
Because that bodes well for what Coach Freeze wants to do, which is bring on more high school players, right? Like if you're not going to get a bunch of transfer portal guys in, that means the next crop of people that are coming in along that defensive line will be, he'll be older than them for the most part. Right. And so he's already establishing himself as a leader in that room. If he does what he needs to do on the field this season, then that just increases the voice that he's going to be able to have along with his willingness to take on. Because not everybody who is a good football player wants to be a vocal leader, right? Like just because you could play ball don't mean you want to be the guy up there talking. Some people are just, hey, man, I just want to let my play do the talking. Some guys want to stand in front of the microphone, be in front of the firing squad. Hey, coach, we lost. One of the most interesting things after a loss as a media member in there is who's going to be the player that walks out there from that locker room to talk to the media after the loss.
Yep.
After a win, they send about 15 people through there. Like, I am not kidding you. Like, they parade guys through there after you win.
Just talk to everybody. Sure. We're in a great mood. Yeah.
But after a loss,
they're hiding people.
It's like one or two. One or two guys who's going to be the one that's going to go out there, say the right things, is in the right mental state. And he's a guy that I think is embracing the role of I'll take the bullets and we'll see what happens on the other side.
Kind of loosely related, but like it is hard after a loss to just put a guy out there. Sometimes even if it's your best player, if you know they're temperamental. I don't know how much you guys have been following women's basketball this year, but like earlier this year, like when the Fever beat the Sky, the Sky hit Angel Reese.
Yeah.
I mean, she obviously is one of their best players. I think she's working on like 13 straight double-doubles or something crazy. And they were like, yeah, we're not putting Angel out there, or we'd be setting her up. Because you know what questions are coming, and you know that she's going to be Angel no matter what, right? So,
and then they sent Kennedy out there, and she still did it. She still was like, "Yeah, I ain't talking about it."
Yeah, she did exactly what they were hoping to avoid, Angel. But you know, it is a luxury to have a guy who you can send out there in good times and in bad,
right?
You know, and I think that this could be a signal that Keldric is one of those guys that you can send out there in the good times and the tough times to talk about what happened. Right. And listen, I think Angel will mature as she gets into the league and she becomes, more ingrained into what they're trying to do. But sometimes
I think she's just gonna be her, bro. Like, I don't know if you ever like.
Yeah, but that can change. She can decide to be somebody different.
The coach matters too, right? Kim Mulkey wasn't putting any reins on her. It was just letting her say.
I don't know how much better Teresa Witherspoon is, but like
that's what I'm saying. Like the coach. That's why I say the coach matters, right? Like. You have to kind of set the precedent that you're not going to just say whatever, and so therefore, I'm not going to allow my players to say whatever. Kim Mulkey,
So in that vein, Freeze, like, I mean, I think he thinks that he's saying what he should be saying sometimes after in these press conferences, but I
think Coach Freeze wants people who are going to lead with honesty. That doesn't include emotion. Like Coach Freeze doesn't go out there and speak emotionally about things, right? Like he doesn't fly off the handle. He's gonna be honest, but he's not just going out there letting expletives fly and being all like super like riled up or whatever. He's gonna be honest, and he's gonna say some stuff that might not play well in the media. I don't think he cares so much about that as long as you're speaking whatever the truth is from your perspective. And he doesn't want to have guys that are going to damage the brand that he's trying to build.
After
bringing other guys into that culture.
After you put last comment, Mike. Last comment.
To the next guy. After you put a guy in front of the media, you want the talk to be about the play and not about what the player said necessarily, right? And so you just want guys to go out there to not make other headlines that distract your team. You want the focus to be on football. And, as the media, we have a responsibility, I think, to ask football questions and not be Jerry Springer in these press conferences. And you have a lot of media that will do that across all sports. I think our beat is pretty good about it, about not asking. And then, every once in a while something happens off the field that they don't want to talk about it, but we have to ask because we have a professional responsibility to ask about things that are not football related, but that people did. So, again, when those times come, you want guys out there who will know what to say and what not to say. And you can't always coach them on that beforehand because it's our job to figure out how to ask you a question in a way that where we will get an honest answer. So, you guys are going to think on their feet.
6'2", 210-pound safety Bryce Diaz has officially committed to the Auburn Tigers 2025 class. The four-star prospect from Baltimore, Maryland, picked up a scholarship offer from the Tigers after impressing defensive coordinator DJ Durkin in a private workout. Bryce felt so good about his weekend in Auburn that on his way home back to Maryland, he called the Auburn coaching staff and committed. A versatile defender that can do a little bit of everything on the football field, DJ Durkin felt like Diaz would be a perfect fit for his system. A four-star according to Rivals, but unranked with all the other services, you can expect a huge rise up the rankings for Diaz in his senior season. This is Dustin Smith of the Uptempo Podcast with your Auburn football recruiting update.
Guys, let's call out the obvious. Everybody wants to head into the bedroom with confidence, feeling like the best version of themselves. But the problem is sometimes our thoughts get in the way in our performance, or maybe we feel like we're just not reaching our full potential. What are your options? Pick a sketchy gas station pill or get a prescribed drug with a long list of side effects. That's where our friends over at JOYMODE come in. Imagine a supplement you can take like your favorite green packets that give you the extra dose of confidence and saves you the embarrassment and hassle of a traditional erection pill. JOYMODE.com. Use code RAPPORT and leave us a review and let us know how your ladies like it, fellas. In that order, Manscaped, JOYMODE, right room.
You probably should take the JOYMODE. Well, I don't know. It depends on how quickly before you're making the decision to Manscaped. So I don't know.
Take the JOYMODE hurry and get your manscaped, and then in the testimonial.
It's gonna take a minute
Yeah.
to kick in, right? So you gotta
Yeah.
it's like pre-workout though, but once it hits, you feel me? Like
Yeah.
it's
And if there's anything left in
Yeah.
your system,
Like-
hit the rage room. Just and you'll be good.
No, they probably do that instead of going to rage room.
I'm just saying, we got you covered. We got the full range of this covered for you guys tonight.
yeah, man. Any kind of stress relief, we got you. You go to the Rogue Shop and mellow out.
That's it. We gave you one more than the trifecta there. The Rogue Shop help.
You was under
Calm
some
me
serious
down.
pressure. You had to
I
hit
think
all
that's the
those
only thing they
joints
do
in
at
one.
the Rogue Shop is perform. Yeah, that's the only thing
Yeah.
they don't do there.
Well, listen, let's get into it, guys. Let's get to the last one. Peyton Thorne.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, you took to Twitter and you saw a lot of mixed thoughts about this one. But to me, this one actually makes a lot of sense, in my personal opinion, because Hugh Freeze has been very consistent in how he has talked about Peyton Thorne this year. I mean, at the start of spring practice, he talked about how he saw Peyton Thorne actually take on a leadership role beginning in January of this year. At an event last week, Hugh Freeze raved again about Peyton Thorne's leadership. So he's been really consistent in his praise of Peyton Thorne in terms of him being a leader. So it doesn't come as a surprise that he's one of the three representing Auburn as a leader.
Mhm.
But your thoughts on that, Mike?
I have look. So I was pretty tough on Peyton last year, based on the things that I felt like he could have done better apart from, it's same way we kind of talked about Bo. It was like, look, man, it's not always everybody around him's fault. And it's interesting to see how people have jumped from if the receivers would just be Superman all the time for Peyton would be fine, to now like zero faith in Peyton Thorne. And I'm thinking, well, if you thought the receivers were the problem and you went out and you got Cam Coleman and DeAndre Lambert-Smith, why wouldn't you have more faith in Peyton Thorne? Now, personally, I will die on this hill, guys. Peyton Thorne was the same Peyton Thorne last year that he has been his first 2 years, just without as much volume throwing the ball. As a matter of fact, last year he had a better completion percentage than I think he had in either 2021 or 2022 by 1.5%. So if he was the same guy in terms of efficiency, well, what changed? You took 140 pass attempts away from him. So you knew who he was when you brought him here. And then he was that guy, and you blamed everybody around him. And I'm like, well, I don't know if the receivers were the problem more so than you just thought that they sucked, so you didn't throw the ball as much, and then you made him run it 100 times. So now, after talking to Peyton, I'm thinking, well, a change in system and a little bit more belief in the receivers that they brought in should translate to more opportunities for Peyton this year. And if you give him his 400 attempts, I think that will produce 3,000 yards, because we have two examples of that, of him doing exactly that. Now, people came at me and they were like, oh, but the defense, I mean, it's not like he was playing in the pack. He was still in the Big Ten. And if there were a second conference to the SEC, it is obviously the Big Ten. So short of playing in the SEC, what do you want? This is the guy that they brought in. So, I like that Hugh Freeze put his weight behind Peyton Thorne. Now, we told everybody in the offseason they're not going to go get a quarterback, if you listened to some people on the beat, they were clickbaiting everybody talking about Cam Ward and these guys who were never going to end up at Auburn. I heard people say, oh, the smoke around Cam Ward, it was never real.
Yeah, no.
They weren't never going to pay $1 million for Cam Ward. So, what happened was what was consistent with Hugh Freeze had been saying all season. He feels like better pass catchers with good catch radius around the quarterback will result in better quarterback play. He's not wrong. But I think he understands what he has in Peyton Thorne. And look, leaving Peyton Thorne at home for this media days would have been a colossal mistake based on what you said in the offseason.
Right.
Yeah. That was going to be my entire. You
You
couldn't
not
project confidence in Peyton Thorne as the starter this early, and
Right.
him be a 5th-year senior
And leave him
and
at
him
home.
not represent your team at me. There's just, I'd question all of the things you said about Peyton
If you
Thorne
leave him at home, nothing you said during the offseason about Peyton Thorne matters, right? Because you're saying, well, he understands the game at one of the highest levels any quarterback ever coached, and you're saying all this stuff about Peyton Thorne. We got to take him to media days.
Yeah.
Now, Peyton has not always come off the best in the media.
Now that was going to be my question to you: is to what can we expect from a Peyton Thorne?
That's going to be interesting for me.
Yeah. The answer to that, Caesar, is we don't know. I think that you can expect a better Peyton Thorne because he feels more confident in what he's walking into this year. Last year, he came in after the spring. He was drinking from a fire hose, and then he got blamed for everything by a certain subset of the fans, and there were other problems and I think Peyton was frustrated by that. Like, wait, I got here, and I'm doing my best, but he can't talk about the systemic issues that maybe affected him as well as the receivers and everybody else. So you know what, Peyton? Since you can't talk about it, I'm going to talk about it. At times last year, this coaching staff sucked offensively. They were awful. The head coach said he was too busy recruiting to be involved in the game planning for the bowl game until the week of. What? All that has to stop. And I think that Hugh Freeze understands that he had to be a better version of himself for Peyton Thorne. Now, look, Hugh had a lot. He's got a lot to juggle, man. He understood the energy that needed to go into recruiting because his core belief was you got to do it from high school. So he put all his energy into that, and it was successful. You got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, guys, and you cannot ignore the guys who you brought in. Now, you want Peyton to do the job. He needs your support to do that. So if that's, and when I say support, if that's play calling, more attention, more involvement in the lead up to, right? So that there is less confusion and everybody is on the same page about what the game plan should be. That's what you have to give Peyton Thorne. And I think when we hear from him on media days, he's going to project that there is more alignment from that perspective than he had in the summer of his first year here, which was truncated because of when he arrived on campus. And again, he had to absorb a lot really quickly, and he didn't have time like other guys who went through spring have to develop chemistry with his teammates. And the SEC is brutal, man. It'll eat you up and spit you out. So for Peyton Thorne, I think what you'll see on media days is him projecting like, look, man, we have a plan. I bought into that plan. I feel good about where we are. And we're going to go out. We're going to make a lot of people upset because we're going to do better than they thought we were going to do.
The question I would ask if I was there is a lot around Peyton Thorne has changed in year 2. New offensive coordinator. You got some new receivers around you. Hugh Freeze more than likely will be calling plays. What's different about Peyton Thorne this year?
What's different about him?
What has he, as you, and again, it's going to be a question to reflect on how last year went. What are some things that you're doing this year that's different? That's one of the things that I would probably, if I was there, I would ask Peyton Thorne. What's the 2024 version of him?
I'm hoping the answer to that is his confidence, right? Because at times last season during games, he projected a lack of confidence, whether that was confidence in the game plan, whether that was confidence in what he was seeing play to play, whether that was confidence in the receivers that he was throwing to. He projected a lack of confidence. And then when you talk to him outside of a game and, he didn't seem to be confident in anything, like he just didn't feel like it. You never got the sense that Peyton Thorne was comfortable last year. And I'm hoping what he says the difference between Peyton Thorne last year and this year is his level of comfort and his confidence. Because if you're uncomfortable, you're lacking in confidence as a quarterback, you're going to be out there struggling the entire time. You can't ever get into a place where you're going to be playing winning football as a quarterback in that position.
Yeah.
For full episodes, check out the Midweek Report, going live on the War Report's YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time Wednesday nights. Until the next time, War Eagle.